Welcome into the Commanders Report. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. The Commanders had an off day at training camp today in terms of their practices, but I've taken this opportunity here to kind of take a breath and go over my list of winners and losers at Commanders training camp to this point. And before we get into the content today, guys, I just want to say a big thank you because we added 89 new subscribers on yesterday's video, and I showed you the July sub battle here in the NFC East for the month of July, and we have not only jumped the New York Giants Now team, but we've also jumped the Eagles Now team with that 89 new subscribers. And right now, we are now less than 10 subscribers behind the Cowboys report to take the lead right at the end of the month of July to get the most subs in the NFC East here at Chat Sports. If you guys want to click that subscribe button right now, if you haven't already, if you're a new viewer and you want daily premium Commanders content and you want to help us win the month of July here at Chat Sports in the NFC East, go ahead, click that subscribe button. And with that, let's get into the video here where we will start with my list of 15 winners to this point in Commanders training camp. To this point, there's been a lot of positivity surrounding this roster through the first 2 weeks of practice. So let's start here with the quarterback, Jayden Daniels, who looks like he is ready to have a sophomore surge instead of the sophomore slump that a lot of Cowboys, Eagles, and of course Giants fans are hoping out of the second-year quarterback out of LSU. But Daniels, even though he has thrown some interceptions to start camp, he has also made an equal amount of just incredible plays. Really the most impressive, in my opinion, was a crazy touchdown pass with time expiring in a team period to Jaylin Lane in double coverage in the back of the end zone. Just an absolutely insane throw. And guys, heading into the season, Daniels is my pick to win NFL MVP this year. I think that he will have another phenomenal season. I think the Commanders will once again win double-digit games. I think they will be right in the mix with the Eagles to win the NFC East division this year. And I think when it's all said and done, he will be looked at as an elite quarterback in this league, along with the Mahomeses, the Allens, the Lamars, and the Burrows of the world. So if you agree with me on that, let me know down there in the comment section. Are you a believer in Jayden Daniels heading into this year? Will he win league MVP this season? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section for today's pinned question. In just a second here, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break, and when that happens, give me a yes or a no down there in the comments. Move on over to the running back position, Jacory Croskey-Merritt, the 7th-round pick out of Arizona. It feels like we talk about this kid every single day on our practice reports because he is making splash plays every single day, and he is breaking through all of the expectations, right? Coming into this year, the expectation was, all right, maybe he makes the roster as a 4th running back, and, he maybe gets some work in, and heading into next year when Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. are free agents, he might be ready to take the mantle as a legitimate starter in this offense. It looks like at some point this year he could be a starter in this offense as soon as this season. He is making big-time plays out there with pads, without pads, as a receiver, in the true run game. He is all over the place making big-time moves, and even head coach Dan Quinn is calling him out specifically in press conferences to talk about how electric his cuts look. He's also played really physical ball with the pads on, so he just looks like the complete package out there, frankly, guys, and as a 7th-round pick, he looks like a hell of a steal for this offense heading into this year. Another guy that looks like he's doing pretty darn well out there is Deebo Samuel. And listen, man, there's a lot of doubters out there, specifically in San Francisco, that are coping with the fact that they got rid of him this offseason for a 5th-round pick. But every single practice, it seems like Deebo's making a splash play, whether it's on a deep crosser, whether it's multiple crazy catches, contested catches in the end zone for touchdowns. Like, people are just raving about Deebo Samuel and his ability to not only make these tough catches in the end zone to score touchdowns, but also to get open on these crossing routes. Of course, he's going to be used quite a bit in the backfield. He's going to be used in the slide. He's going to be used in motion, pre-snap. He's going to be that Swiss Army knife for this offense this year, and it looks like after dealing with some pneumonia last year, he dealt with pneumonia last year. Not a lot of people talk about that. He is now back to 100% healthy and ready to dominate in this Commanders offense this year. Another receiver that has been playing well is Luke McCaffrey, and specifically as a route runner, all right, as that route running technician, where McCaffrey coming out of Rice, honestly, I thought he needed a little bit more work on his his routes coming out, but apparently he's been putting in the work with his dad, Ed, and of course his brother, Christian, who's one of the best running backs in the National Football League, and he's been turning heads with the amount of times he's getting open against the number one offense, with Terry McLaurin, of course, out still trying to get his contract figured out. Then Jaylin Lane, the rookie out of Virginia Tech, not only is he impressing in the punt return type of stuff, where I think he could be one of the best punt returners in the National Football League on day one, but of course he's making crazy catches in the end zone. He's getting open down the field. He is really looking like that true deep threat out there, with Terry McLaurin, of course, not on the practice field right now. Somebody that's been making some really nice catches and someone that's really impressing the Commanders coaching staff right now is Chris Moore. He had a really good offseason program, and he has taken that into this training camp here, where he's not like a deep threat. He's not a crazy athlete or anything like that, but he's got super reliable hands, can make tough catches in contested situations. You always want a receiver like Chris Moore in your wide receiver room heading into the year, and I think he's got a chance to make the final roster. In terms of the UDFA wide receivers that have stood out, Jacory Brooks had a really good start to camp. Multiple touchdowns so far on the 11-on-11 periods with the third-team offense. He's going to be a name I'm watching extremely closely during the preseason games here in Washington this year in a couple of weeks. And listen, man, we talked about a lot of receivers being winners on my list today, and that just talks about how good Jayden Daniels is looking. Even without Terry McLaurin out there, his number one alpha wide receiver, he is making Deebo Samuel, Luke McCaffrey, Jaylin Lane. He's making these guys look good, which just shows Jayden Daniels' ability to elevate this team and elevate his weapons, just like he did last year, where I would argue the only legitimate weapon, impact weapon, I should say, on this team was Terry McLaurin. And even with him not out there, Jayden is still slinging that thing. He is still making these guys look good, which I think is another really good sign for Jayden Daniels heading into his second year. So coming up here on the Commanders Report, the winners on defense, and of course I've got my list of 5 losers to finish up today's show as well. But before we get into the rest of today's video, I want to give a big shout out to our new sponsor here on the Commanders Report at Ethos. Guys, the summer before I started here at Chat Sports, my family lost my great-grandfather, and as you tend to do when you lose a loved one, you begin to think about your own mortality and what would happen to the people dependent on you if something were to happen. And with today's sponsor, Ethos, your family is protected. I'm getting married soon, and shortly after that, I imagine I'll be buying a house for myself and start having kids shortly after that as well. If something were to happen to me, I want the last thing the people I love to worry about is being able to pay the bill. So I trust Ethos to keep them protected. Ethos is an online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy to protect your family's future in minutes, not months. There is no complicated process, and it's 100% online. There's no medical exam required, and you just answer a few health questions to get a quote in as little as 10 minutes. So protect your family with life insurance from Ethos today. Get your free quote at ethos.com/NFL Daily. That's ethos.com/NFL Daily to get your free quote today. Big shout out to Ethos for sponsoring today's edition of the Commanders Report. Now we're on to the defense here. We'll start with 5 technique Javon Kinlaw, who is looking like an absolute freight train out there, guys. He's definitely a big human being, but he cut weight this year, where he played more at like a nose tackle type of size with the New York Jets last year. He is now down to almost like a defensive end type of size, and that bull rush is still there. The get off is still there. The heavy hands are still there. All of the tools and all the traits that got him drafted in the first round, back when Adam Peters was still in San Francisco, by the way, are still there, and he is absolutely making an impact, not only, guys, as a pass rusher, which is where he's had most of his impact over the last several seasons, but he's been a bad run defender in years past, guys. A big takeaway is that he has been a really big impact run defender in these first few weeks of practices, and if the Commanders get that player where he can affect both the pass and the run games, I mean, you're looking at somebody that's going to be a mainstay in this Commanders defense and someone that was worth every single penny of that contract that a lot of people said was too much back in free agency. Then we get to another defensive lineman that has played really well and has really found a home in this defense, and that is Dorance Armstrong, the defensive end. He is what is referred to as the Leo in Dan Quinn's 4-3 under defense. So that is like the true defensive end, kind of the true edge setter there, and again in the run game. and he has a super underrated role in this defense where he is playing that Leo position as that bigger kind of run defending, defensive end in the front, but then he's also playing a little bit of defensive tackle and interior player as somebody that's going to be somebody that deploys on stunts and opens things up for guys like Frankie Louvu and Von Miller and all these things that Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. love to do. He just detonates on people, guys, and even though he's not the most dominant one-on-one pass rusher in the world, that's not his role here. That's why the Commanders and Dan Quinn really value his skill set in the grand scheme of this defense. So another person that has really been impressive here and somebody that's been a hard hitter is Jordan Magee, the second-year linebacker out of Temple. He's always been an athletic freak, but you can really tell, his range, sideline to sideline speed, all that different stuff is on full display. And right now there's a lot of excitement in the Commanders coaching staff around him. He is going to be the starting will linebacker in your base formations in this defense. And, that is something that Magee is really excited about and something this Commanders coaching staff is really excited about. Really excited to see what this young man's going to be able to do in his second year in the league. And then another second-year player that's another athletic freak here, Tyler Owens, has been the starting bandit safety in this defense. And, of course, we've talked about the bandit safety role ad nauseum on this channel all throughout the offseason, especially after Jeremy Chinn, who played that role last year, left in free agency. But Tyler Owens has been their plan at this position from the start, ever since they drafted him last year. They gave him a year to develop behind Jeremy Chinn, and now he's looking like an absolute freak athlete, guys. Like, he just looks like, some of these hybrid linebacker safety types, the Kyle Hamiltons of the world, the Brian Branches of the world, these huge athletic type of safeties that can just affect the game. And honestly, his athletic profile is very similar to Jeremy Chinn, where he's super athletic, but he's also really, really big, so he can play that hybrid safety / linebacker role. And he's taking to that role quite well to start camp thus far. Another safety, this time a free safety, a smaller safety here for the Commanders defense that has really played well is Quan Martin. Martin made a really good year 2 leap last year, getting out of that Jack Del Rio squishy cover 4 heavy defense under Ron Rivera in year 2 in this Dan Quinn system. And now in year 2, man, like, he is looking even better, all right? Like, it looks like he's going to make another leap here in year 3 of his NFL career, and he's looking like an absolute stud. There's multiple reports of him, making a bunch of plays on the football and, him anticipating route concepts and just the things you want to see from your veteran safety out there. So really excited about Quan's third season in the league here. Then we get to Marshon Lattimore, Trey Amos, and, of course, Mike Sainristil, this trio of corners here in Washington. Every starting corner is on my winners list to this point because they've all looked great. Lattimore has shown us that he's got the speed back. Trey Amos has looked like a legitimate starting corner. And then Mike Sainristil, Frozone himself, has probably been the star of camp to this point. Multiple interceptions, making plays on the football everywhere, reading the eyes of a really good and disciplined quarterback like Jayden Daniels. It's not easy. Jayden was number 2 in the league last year in turnover-worthy plays. He's really good at protecting the football, guys. He's really good at using his eyes and having that eye discipline. It doesn't matter with a guy like Mike Sainristil. I think he's going to be a Brian Branch type of player for this Commanders defense this year in the slot, and I can't wait to see him butt into the star that I think he can be. So tell me down there in the comments section, who has been the biggest winner of Commanders camp to this point? My vote goes to Mike Sainristil, who did good on the outside as an outside corner last year, but now that he's moving back in the slot, I have extremely high expectations for this young man heading into 2025. Let me know your biggest winner down there in the comments section. But now we have to finish up today's show with the thing that I don't love to do here, which is to let you guys know the players that have been underwhelming, the losers. I only have 5. There hasn't been too many guys that have underwhelmed to this point, but I think it's important to break these down. We'll start with Josh Conerly Jr., first-round rookie out of Oregon. There's reports that he's got really heavy feet, which is concerning because, he's not the biggest offensive tackle in the world. He has a little bit of an issue anchoring. That was kind of his weakness coming out. And part of the reason why the Commanders got him was because he's got the athleticism to go out there on screens and be a blocker in space and do all these different things. And apparently he's just been slow to this point in camp. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not panicking, all right? He's still young. There's still a lot of time before you give give up on Josh Conerly Jr., guys. But I do think that this is going to be a big preseason for him, and I think we will learn a lot by the time we get to week one. If he's starting that week one game versus the Giants, I don't think we have much to worry about, and he's fully acclimated. But if we see Andrew Wiley out there at right tackle for yet another season week one, we might have to think a little bit about Conerly or whether or not he's going to be able to be a year one type of starter in this league. And then Jonathan Jones, it's not necessarily that Jonathan has had a bad camp or anything like that. In fact, he's played really well with the second team defense. But when it seems like you've already lost that first team job to a rookie, Trey Amos, you're going to be designated as a loser because you were brought in here to maybe be a veteran starter and compete with a rookie. But it seems like that rookie has already played well enough to overtake your job. So I think Jonathan Jones is one of the best fourth corners in the National Football League because he's got the versatility to play on the outside and in the slot. So if there's an injury, no matter where that's at, Jones can slide in there. But I think he probably went into the season after signing that contract thinking he was going to be a week one starter, and that doesn't look like it's going to be the case. Noah Brown, I would also say, has had a little bit of a slow start to camp. He's dealt with injuries. He had that injury in mandatory minicamp, and he seems a little bit slowed down from that at this point. Other guys like Luke McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel have overtaken him with the first-team offense, in my opinion. And then you get to Chris Rodriguez Jr., who unfortunately looks like the odd man out in the running back room. You will see if the Commanders carry 3 or 4 running backs. Honestly, I think they carry 4. Jacory Croskey-Merritt is definitely joining Austin Eckler and Brian Robinson Jr. as guys I'm convinced are making this roster. So the big question is, do they carry that 4th running back? And then if that's the case, is it Chris Rodriguez Jr. or Jeremy McNichols? McNichols is a lot more established than Chris is at this point in their respective careers, but Chris is younger. So we'll see. But if I had to guess right now, I think the odd man out, unfortunately, is Chris Rodriguez Jr. I would expect him to be on the practice squad, though. And then we get to Terry McLaurin. And listen, man, you don't get a deal done. You're not practicing out there. You're not building chemistry before the season with your quarterback. Obviously Terry wants to be out there. He's signing autographs after practice every single day. He wants to be out there. It's just that Adam Peters and the Commanders are playing hardball here, and what I think is probably the stupidest move of Adam Peters' tenure as GM. Just get this done, man. You're not paying your quarterback, so pay his weapon. All right, Terry McLaurin is more than worth the money he's asking for. DK Metcalf level money. He's a better player than DK. And obviously you have the cap space to be able to afford this over the next several seasons while Jayden is still on his rookie contract. So when I look at the situation, and I keep hearing these reports that Washington doesn't want to pay more than like $25 million per season for an all-pro receiver that just got 13 touchdowns. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, what the hell are we doing over here, man? How has it worked out for San Francisco and the Dallas Cowboys to not pay their players until the last second? It hasn't worked out for either of them, all right? So let's not be them, all right? I know you came from the John Lynch school of GMing over there in San Fran, but listen, man, we're trying to do things different here in Washington. We actually want to walk away with Super Bowl championships instead of just going to the game, right? So hopefully Adam Peters and Terry McLaurin and his agent can figure something out here and fast so that Terry can get on the practice field so this offense doesn't get off to a slow start here in 2025. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comments section. Would you pay Terry $35.5 million per season right now? Give me a sign or give me a pass. I don't think he's necessarily asking for this much. I honestly think it's more in like the $33.5 million per season range, which I would personally do right now. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. S for sign or P for pass. Now, before I go here, I got one more item that I want to discuss. The Commanders did make a roster move today with the retirement of Nate Herbig. Earlier in the week, they have brought in offensive tackle Lucas Niang. Now, Niang might play a little bit on the interior because that's where Herbig was playing. So we'll see where they end up putting him. He's somebody that was kind of highly regarded coming out of college, and he just never really worked out with the Kansas City Chiefs. So we'll see what they end up doing with him. We'll have you guys updated on our practice reports here on this channel as the week concludes. But that'll be it for today's edition of the Commanders Report. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end with me today. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And until next time, guys, hail to the Commanders.